What is a personal story you have that you don't tell because it sounds made up? I went to a July 4th party at Mark Zuckerberg's house once and he grilled me a burger. Last summer, while swimming at a busy beach, I got caught in a rip current and had to be rescued by a lifeguard. Before I was rescued, a crowd gathered. When I finally got pulled out, exhausted, disheveled, covered in seaweed, dizzy, disoriented, tits spilling out of my bathing suit, etc., everyone started to clap. Most humiliating moment of my life, but also my only literal, and then everyone clapped, story. We were cruising around Huntington Beach in my friend's Mercury Comet back in the late 80s. Racing people randomly and generally being obnoxious. We are at red light and next to us is a little old lady in her nondescript Audi. My buddy guns the engine a few times as we hoot and holler at her. She turns her head slowly, and with a wry smile puts her hand wheel. She is wearing those leather driving gloves, the ones with all the holes on the fingers. Light turns green and she absolutely smoked us. We were stunned and just watched her speed off. The story sounds like a scene from some 80s John Hughes movie. But it happened. My grandfather named Burger King's Whopper. He was friends with several of the founders of Burger King and they used to get together and hang out and play poker. They were chatting one night and trying to come up with the name for one of Burger King's upcoming burgers, and my grandfather suggested the name, the Whopper. It was probably one of many suggestions and nothing came of it at the time. He was offered a position at the company, but turned it down and decided to open up a Burger Castle restaurant instead. Not too long after, Burger King announced their new burger and it was named the Whopper. My family could be heirs to a Burger King fortune, but my grandfather was always stubborn and wanted to do his own thing. Next door to my childhood home was this vacation cottage, owned by an older English couple, Mr. and Mrs. Edgar. They were fascinating people, very upper crust, posh accents etc., but lovely, and I spent as much time as possible with them. At one point, Mr. Edgar had dealings with Walt Disney, and apparently the evil butler from the Aristocats was named after him. I slipped on a banana peel once. I told a few people and they didn't believe me, so I stopped telling people. I met Quentin Tarantino in a record/DVD shop in LA. We spoke for a few minutes, but he preferred that we didn't get a photo. I told a handful of people and well, without proof, the story was met with disdain and disbelief. So now I don't really put that story out there anymore. My mother, the actual mayor of Small Beach Town, USA, who stops to talk to everyone in town, does not even speak to me. I was held at gunpoint in Oakland. I accidentally made a joke to the robber. He laughed so hard he let us go. A crazy homeless guy once chased me home. Luckily, I ran into my apartment building before he caught me. I tell that story, but with most people leave out the fact that his hands and pants were covered in blood. It just sounds too horror movie outlandish. I had classes with Joe Keery, Steve from Stranger Things, in college. I've stopped mentioning it, started telling it because my job required participation in icebreakers, because people assume I'm friends or still know him. No. We had 2 classes together. He was just some dude at the time. I had a cat that didn't land on its feet. That I went to Universal Studios as a kid and took pictures sitting on Mr. T's shoulders, from A-Team, and also with Michael and Kit from The Knight Rider, and we lost that roll of film before we could develop it. It's probably the only roll of film we've ever lost, lol. When I was 15, I entered a national portraiture competition and unexpectedly won it. I had a 30-minute conversation about art with the late Queen of England. She gave me a book about fine art and some shopping vouchers as a prize. Snoop Dogg took one hit off a blunt and gave the rest to me without saying a word. While working my first job ever at 16, I was delivering pizzas during the summer and was tipped $10,000 cash. I am an oldish brick guy. Boring day job. With clueless coworkers. I did a porn shoot with a professional porn star, Sabrina Deep. They did stills too, and the cum shot over her face was quite good, so much so that she used it on the front page of her website for a couple of years. I sold a printer to Steven Tyler. When I passed my driving test, my instructor told me I was the best student he ever taught and he knew I would pass. Jokingly, I asked who was the worst student he ever had. He said about 20 years ago he taught a woman who got so nervous during the exam she lost control and destroyed a wall, a tree, and a direction pole and was banned from taking the test again. That night we had a house party to celebrate me passing, and my mom told me that woman is my aunt. When I was 10, I sang "Heal the World" on stage with Michael Jackson at his concert in Switzerland.